chaired by High Representative Josep Borrell, who will inform you about the nature of the discussions, and then we will take few questions. With this, High Representative, you have.
Well, thank you. Thank you to all of you. Today has been shorter than yesterday. Not less important, but shorter. I'm happy to meet you at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. No, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and not at 8 o'clock in the afternoon. Today, the most important issue was the military support to Ukraine, as you could imagine. Then we moved to the situation in the Middle East and the Red Sea, before discussing our overall efforts to strengthen our defense readiness. And finally, during the lunch, we discussed about the future of our satellite center. That's, as you know, it is located in Torrejón, nearby Madrid. First on Ukraine. We had a video conference with your Ukrainian Defense Minister, Minister Umerov, who briefed us online on the latest development on the front line on Russia and the latest news about attacks against cities and energy infrastructure across Ukraine. I just received another message saying that new and more flying bombs has been falling in several Ukrainian cities. The military platform of Russia attacks on Ukraine cities and infrastructure should not stay off limits for elimination. Should not be a sanctuary for the Russian attacking Ukraine. I continue thinking that it's about Ukraine's legitimate right to defend, to self-defense, in accordance with the United Nations Charter. You know where we stand on the questions regarding restrictions on the use of the delivered equipment against Russia and our military involvement supporting Ukraine. To facilitate Ukraine to respond to the Russia aggression inside the Russian territory is in accordance with international law, and I don't see why someone says it is going in war against Moscow. No, we are not going in war with Moscow. We are delivering arms to Ukraine, that's all. And Ukraine can use these arms in accordance with international law. These warnings are a little bit out of the question. But member states decided that this is something that belongs to bilateral decisions of each member state providing the equipment with Ukraine. The long range, in particular, belongs to a decision of the providers to Ukraine. So it has been a strategic discussion about, but it remains a national policy, and member states want to be a national decision through a bilateral relation with Ukraine. In fact, I am convinced that a discussion about these topics and other topics should be performed at the European Union level, and that's why we have this format of informal ministerials. The discussion has taken place, everybody explained his position, I explained my position, member states decided it is a bilateral issue, but the fact that the arms provided to Ukraine can be used in order to target inside Russian territory, not at all means that we are going to go at war with Russia. This is an exaggeration. We discussed with member states the progress made on our military support to Ukraine. Figures are important. Today, our military support exceeds 43 billion. 43.5. Altogether, civilian and military goes much more than that. It's about 100. But the military alone is 43, 43, 44. It changes every day. The second big news is the first fighter jets, F-16, are already flying on the Ukrainian skies to protect Ukrainian cities and people. And we continue delivering ammunition. Now we are at 65% of our original goal to deliver 1 million of ammunition shells. It has been an acceleration during the summer. The industry is working at full pace. We are at 65%. Still not there, but it's increasing. As you know, Belgium announced some days ago that they are going to give more F-16 to Ukraine. It has been also discussed at the meeting. From the point of view of financing, we have mobilized the first tranche of windfall profits from Russia frozen assets. It's 1.4 billion. This 1.4 billion has gone through the European Peace Facility to support more military assistance for Ukraine. The big news is now part of it is going directly to Ukraine. Going directly to Ukraine in order to boost the Ukrainian defense industry. I think it's a good news. It's a good initiative. Working closely with Ukraine is good. Boosting the Ukrainian defense industry is more effective and faster. The Ukrainians asked for it. The Minister Umerov has been asking for it today again. Many agree, so it's going to be the growing partner for our future support. The next tranche will also be devoted to support the Ukrainian defense industry. Part of this will be managed by some member states to purchase from the European defense industry and the global market ammunition and air defense. They are the two most important priorities, ammunition and air defense. Many members stress importance to speed up military deliveries. I fully agree with them. We have to do more and quicker. By March, we will have the second tranche of the windfall profits, and we will continue managing it on this way to the Ukrainian defense industry as much as we can, and as much as they can absorb. On our military assistance missions, the UAM, allow me to say that it has been a success, a great success. It's the most successful training mission that the European Union has ever performed. It has trained 60,000 soldiers. And today the ministers agreed on raising the target to 75,000, adding 15,000 more by the end of the year. This is also a good news. We'll do more. Ukraine is requesting. This war requires a constant adaptation to the modalities of the war. The training has to be shortened and adapted to the Ukrainian needs. We want to make this training mission as pragmatic and easy as possible for the Ukrainians to participate in training, making use of Ukrainian trainers, and ensuring stronger coordination with Ukraine and NATO. In order to do that, I propose, and member states agreed, on establishing a small liaison cell and coordination in Kyiv. This would allow us to directly coordinate with other relevant actors. It's not an executive mission inside Ukrainian territory. Is a coordinating cell in Kyiv in order to make our work more effective. Ministers were all very positive and supportive of these training efforts. It is also urgent to unblock the 6.6 billion of the Ukrainian Assistance Fund, the famous amount of money who has been blocked for months of the EPF. Many ministers repeated today that it's not Ukrainian money, it's their money, because they are not being reimbursed for the expenditure that has already happened. Ukraine has already got the material, but they haven't got the reimbursement. And many ministers repeated today that an urgent solution is needed. I look for it. One way or another, I will find a solution. One way or another. For our second session, we had discussions with representatives of the United Nations, NATO, and the European Parliament, with the new chair of the subcommittee on defense. Then we went to the Middle East, regional escalation between Israel and Hezbollah. We discussed about it with foreign ministers yesterday. Ministers expressed their support for ongoing ceasefire negotiation. Another issue that is of very much concern is I can say that a war in the West Bank. The Secretary General of the United Nations yesterday asked for a ceasefire and stop the military operations of Israel on the West Bank, which has produced a high number of casualties and destruction of civil infrastructure. We are strongly concerned because the war scenario seems now to be going from Gaza to the West Bank. This is also a way of threatening regional stability. Escalation has to be avoided. Let's hope that the call from the Secretary General of the United Nations will be heard. We will support the Lebanese armed forces. We are already doing that with the European Peace Facility. We need more support, and this requires additional funding next year. The United Nations Under Secretary General Lacroix updated us on the United Nations efforts in the region. You know how difficult it is for the United Nations agencies, and not only for UNRWA, for several United Nations agencies to work in Israel and in the occupied territories, including Gaza. And we are expressing our strong support to the United Nations and our rejection to the qualification of a terrorist organization to a United Nations agency. Then we went to the Red Sea and the Gulf area. We noticed that the Houthis are launching more sophisticated attacks. The last attack against the Greek flag and Suleiman last week is the last grave escalation on the threats for the navigation in the Red Sea. We have the Aspides mission working full steam. The number of ships going through the Suez Canal has been decreasing, and we need more ships. We need more forces. I asked member states to increase the capacity of Aspides mission. In the meantime, the balance is good. Aspides has protected successfully 217 merchant vessels and destroyed 22 missiles and drones launched by the Houthis. Now the big issue is to avoid environmental catastrophe with the oil that the ship Suleiman was transporting. A solution will be found, and we will cooperate on that. Aspides certainly is contributing to restore the confidence of maritime shipping and encouraging them to revert to their original routes through the Red Sea. But for that, Aspides has to have the assets required. I call the member states to step up their contribution. And we also need to tackle the continuous flow of illicit weapons to the Houthis. We are looking to what we can do, and we will further discuss it in the context of the strategic review of the Operation Aspides in November. We discussed our efforts to strengthen our defense readiness, how the European Union needs to have more capabilities, more investment, and how the European Union defense industry has to deliver in sufficient quantities what the defense requires. I asked member states to speed up the negotiations of the defense industry program. where the European Parliament will play an important role. Several ministers stress that this also requires mobilizing additional funding for defense, and where this funding is going to come. I am working closely with the Commission, following the tasking of the European Union Council, to develop options that will, I hope, be soon presented to the European Union leaders. This has an important Ukrainian component, but not only. Ukraine is at the core of our defense development, but not only. We have to integrate Ukrainian defense into our industrial base. There is a lot to learn from the capacity of Ukrainians to increase their innovation on the field of defense. And that's why we have opening a European Union Defense Innovation Office in Kyiv, together with the Commission. It will be open shortly, maybe in September. In any case, I am planning to visit Ukraine during September and October, before the end of my term as High Representative, to do the last push to our cooperation with Ukraine on the military support to its defense. It has been an important part of my task during the last years. And cooperation with NATO, which is also crucial. In September, we will launch a new NATO structured dialogue on defense industry. Finally, we had a lunch with the Satellite Center Director, the new director, and we discussed the strategic role of the Satellite Center, which are the eyes of Europe in the sky, more than in the sky, in the space. The demand for the Satellite Center services is continuously growing. It provides an important insight about what's happening on Earth. You can see what's happening in any corner of the Earth. And they are also playing an important role in supporting our partners, Ukraine in particular, in this fight against Russia's war of aggression. The ministers agreed we need a strong and well-resourced satellite center to support our ambitious security and defense agenda. And that's all.
Thank you very much. So now we go to questions. David, let's go ahead. Mike should be arriving shortly.
Thank you very much. David Carretta, Radio Radicale, Italian Radio. Two questions, if I may. The first one on ammunition. You mentioned 65%, so 650,000 ammunition, if I'm right. Does this figure include also the Czech initiative? And if I remember well, the target for the end of the year was move a little bit, 1,200,000 because of the delay and so on. So will the EU be able to deliver this time on ammunition? And the second question is on the restriction of the use of weapons. Would you say that countries that keep restriction are basically protecting Russia? Thank you.
The second question, certainly not. There is no European country who is protecting Russia. We protect Ukraine. We protect Ukraine. No, we decided that it is a national policy. We can have a strategic discussion among us in order to look for common ground. Defense is a national policy. It's not a secret, nothing new. Foreign policy is a national policy also. Look, the Hungarian Minister of Foreign Affairs is in Moscow today. It's in Moscow. Yesterday it was here, today it's in Moscow. Why? Because foreign policy, like it or not, is a national policy. So they can go to Moscow, to Peking, whatever they want. They have a duty. They have the duty of corporate loyalty in building a foreign common policy. Common. Common doesn't mean unique. Common means common. They may have their own policy, but they have to cooperate loyalty in order to build a common foreign policy. And in the field of defense, the same thing. Defense is a national policy. The Commission has no competences in defense, but the member states want to build a common defense policy. I am in charge of doing that. I'm pushing for it. And that's why I present to the members of the Defense Ministers' Council proposals to hold a strategic debate. And we discussed. This is an informal meeting. I have my opinion. Others have other opinion. Finally, they decided this is a national competence. Each one will do whatever they think appropriate. Good. It's their decision. But this doesn't mean that they want to protect Russia. Equally, to think and to believe that it's legitimate in accordance with international law to target inside the territory of the aggressor, because there is one aggressor, is because there is an aggression that there is a war. According with international law, it doesn't mean to go to war. We are not in war with Moscow. So no one is protecting anyone, and we should avoid exaggerations if we want to discuss seriously about these matters. And the target. Look, we are accelerating more and more. We are producing quicker. The industry is increasing capacity. They are working at full capacity. They are increasing it. I hope that by the end of the year, we will reach the target, both us and the Czech initiative. That, by the way, it's also pushing for the target. It was announced in February in Munich.
Thank you. Next one was Andrew.
Andrew Gray from Reuters. High Representative, you talked about the EU training mission for Ukrainian soldiers and the increase in the target of number of soldiers to be trained. But could you tell us about the discussion around where that training should happen? The Ukrainians have requested that some of it should be done inside Ukraine. Did you hear that request again today from the Ukrainian minister? Was there any discussion about it? And what's your view on that question?
You know, to wear a uniform doesn't make you a soldier. You can wear a uniform, have a helmet. It doesn't make you a soldier. In order to be a soldier, you need to be trained. And this is more and more important because the warfare today is quite sophisticated. And to send a soldier with a helmet and uniform to the front line without adequate training is to send them to die quickly. So training is a life-saving. That's so much important, the training, when people have to go to fight. That's why we are so proud of the fact that we have been training 60,000 soldiers. To be trained in Ukraine, why not? They are closer to the environment where they will have to fight. It could be more appropriated, maybe. Some member states were ready, others reluctant. Finally, we decided that the training will be as close as possible to Ukraine, but not in Ukrainian territory, not in Ukrainian land. But a cell in Kyiv will be open in order to ensure the best coordination with Ukraine and our partners. By the way, to be closer to the border, it's, you know, there are countries who are very far away from Ukraine, and they are doing excellent work and training a lot of soldiers and providing them with a high level, high quality training. So maybe it's not so decisive.
Thank you. Marco.
Thank you very much. Marco Bresolin, Stampa. Again, on the restrictions of the use of the weapons for Ukraine. are there legal arguments from member states that are against to lift the restriction, or it's just a political position? I mean, you've heard the different ministers, different member states, different position, but the differences are related to political consideration, or are there also legal doubts about the possibility of targeting in the Russian soil? Thank you.
According with international law, the aggressed is legitimated to attack targets inside the territory of the aggressor. So there is nothing in international law that prevents Ukraine from responding to the Russia aggression inside the Russian territory, and logically should not be a sanctuary for the places where the attacks are being launched. I think the reluctance is due to political reasons. Very much respectful the decisions. Member states decided to do it the way they have decided, but I think it's more for political reasons, mainly for political reasons.
Thank you. Silvia?
Thank you very much. Silvia Yusuf from El País newspaper. It's on this coordination cell in Kyiv. Are there already more details? How big or how small will it be? How many people? What kind of personnel will it have? Is it military? Is it civilian? How can we imagine, or how can we figure out this coordination cell?
I wouldn't pay a lot of importance. It's not something very noticeable. A coordination cell is a coordination cell. It's not very big. I don't know, 3, 4, 5 people, maybe 6. I don't see that a great issue. And military or civilians, well, I suppose it will be mostly military. If they have to coordinate training of the military, it will be mainly people who knows what they are talking about. I don't see the bureaucrats of Berlaymont going to Kyiv to tell anyone how the military has to be trained. This is something that requests professional skills, but nothing important. Well, important. Yes, important, sure. But I don't see something that could create any kind of controversy.
Thank you. Do we have more questions? Okay, Viktor, go ahead.
Sí, Víctor Tuda de la agencia Europa Press. Le quería preguntar por la cuestión de los fondos bloqueados por Hungría. Ayer le prometió al ministro Kuleba que buscaría cualquier forma de sortear esta situación y hoy ha dicho que va a encontrar una solución de una forma u otra. ¿Nos podría dar alguna pista de qué tiene en mente y si cree que se puede resolver el asunto antes de que acabe su mandato? Y luego una segunda pregunta. Hoy sé que no han hablado de Venezuela, pero tenemos una cuestión de ayer que se nos queda pendiente. Aparte de que la Unión Europea decidió que no iba a reconocer al presidente Maduro, ya se llevó el tema de reconocer el triunfo de Edmundo González como ganador de las elecciones. Entonces me gustaría saber si usted es partidario de esta opción y si cree que es una buena opción dada la situación que hay ahora en Venezuela.
Todo parece indicar, por la información que la oposición ha suministrado, que ciertamente el resultado electoral es favorable a Edmundo. Y así lo consideraron los ministros. Pero no fueron más allá. Fueron claramente en lo que me parece lo políticamente relevante, que es decirle al señor Maduro, mire, usted no ha ganado las elecciones, no consideramos que haya usted ganado las elecciones, por lo menos no nos lo ha aprobado, lo ha declarado, pero no lo ha aprobado, y el competente para hacer lo que es la Comisión Nacional Electoral no ha suministrado la información para que podamos verificarlo. Por lo tanto, no le podemos considerar democrática y legítimamente elegido. Supongo que esta declaración que hago hoy me valdrá otra serie de calificativos por parte de las autoridades venezolanas. Puede que sean los mismos que ayer o puede que sean algunos nuevos, pero en todo caso es lo que los ministros decidieron. Y no dijeron nada más. Pero la historia no se termina ayer. Vamos a seguir estudiando y decidiendo al respecto. Piensen que en cualquier caso Maduro será presidente interino hasta que se produzca el momento en el que se debería proceder al relevo de presidencias. Esto será en enero. De aquí a enero hay tiempo.
Okay.
Era algo más, ¿no? Que me había preguntado usted. ¿O solo eso?
Fondos, no.
Pues no se lo puedo contar porque todavía no tengo la solución, pero la tendré.
Muy bien, muchas gracias. So if there are no more questions, weekend is approaching. Thank you very much for coming. See you next week. Bye.